surfaces. Here on my little bandsaw, I got some on my drill press, and they need kind of cleaned up. I have some rust on them. To be honest, when I moved into the shop, I never took the time to go ahead and get all my cast iron surfaces good and ready to be used. So today I'm going to go ahead and sand them down and apply some wax to them. All you're going to need is some kind of WD-40. I use this Blaster. It's all-purpose lubricant, just kind of like your WD-40 would use. I'm going to use my power sander, my random orbital, and then a green Scotch-Brite pad, because I believe this is somewhere around like the 600 grit, if I remember right, after looking at their website. If you have a lot of pitting on your cast iron, you might need to go a little bit lower. You might need to go to one of their lower grit pads that I wouldn't go anywhere below probably 320 for your heavy pitting. I only have a few spots here that have some pitting, and to be honest, this is where like sweat dripped on it from when I was moving it, and I haven't used my bandsaw but one time in the last year, and it's mainly because I didn't want to take the time to tune it up. But I am going to today. So you just take your green pad, your Scotch-Brite, and stick it down on your random orbital. We're going to spray the surface down, and we're going to go ahead and sand it and then wipe it away. So now that we got it sanded, we're just going to take a paper towel. We're just going to simply wipe away that. Once you have it wiped away, you can kind of see where you still have some problem areas. And here you can see some heavier pitting are on mine for some problem areas. So because I didn't anticipate this, I didn't pick up the lower grit Scotch pad, I'm going to go ahead and use a 320 grit, just a sanding pad on my sander, and see if I can hit some of these problem areas and see if I can just get them a little bit better. I don't think I'll ever be able to take them fully out, but we'll see if I can get them at least to where I can't feel the rust built up on top. Once you spray them down, you may need to let those spots sit just a little bit longer, maybe half an hour. Let that penetrating oil go ahead and do its job, getting down into that rust. Now that 220 removed pretty much all the pitting. What's left is a little bit of staining, and I'm not sure I'll entirely get that out. Maybe over time of doing this, it'll eventually come down. But once I've gone through with that 220, that 320 grit pad, I went back with the green Scotch-Brite pad, just go ahead and buff out the scratches, and now we're going to clean it off and apply some wax. Now that I have my cast iron surfaces here kind of defreed of rust, I'll go ahead and clean it. I just grab some mineral spirits, and we're going to clean it off, make sure we get all that metal shavings and stuff off the surface so it doesn't affect our material once we put it on here to cut. Now that we've made sure we've gotten all the WD-40 or other lubricant off and all the metal shavings off, now it's time to go ahead and add some protection to it, as well as kind of reduce the friction of your surfaces. I use the Renaissance wax polish. You can use Johnson's Paste Wax. or beeswax, some other kind of similar wax. But honestly, I've used this for years. I've used it for everything I have. I've had this for about 3 or 4 years now, and I've only used about a 1/4 inch of the tub. A little bit goes a long way. It's a little expensive. Costs I don't know, $15 or $20. Maybe not even that for this can. Like I said, it goes a long way. I've never had it affect the finish of any of my products that I put out. So I stick with it. I have a bunch of it. I think I bought 2 or 3 cans at the time, not knowing how long it will last. So I probably have a good 10-year supply, which is the cans I have in my shop. So I apply a very liberal coat, and I kind of let it dry a little bit. Once I start to see it just slightly haze up just a little bit, then I'll go ahead and I'll buff it off. But it's smart to go ahead and do all the movable surfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it on my fence here. I did it on the fence rail, and at the same time I have it out, I'll go ahead and put it on my table saw surface, maybe my lathe, drill press, things like that. Anywhere that there's going to be friction, I'm going to push my wood across. It'll help slide it. It's also good to apply it to all your fixtures if you have table saw sleds or anything like that. Now you have your cast iron table surfaces on all your tools, nice and clean and rust free. It's time to take them and put them to good use. You know, Drew Short over at Rocking H Woodshop has another good method that's very similar to this. In fact, I used his to kind of help develop my method as well on taking care of my cast iron surfaces. I highly recommend you do this at least once a year, but depending on the environment you live in, for me, I live down here in the south, it's very humid. I do this typically about twice a year, maybe not as in depth. It takes you about 5 or 10 minutes and you can have it all done if you do regular maintenance on it. So now get out in the shop, clean your tools, and have some fun.